Hello friends, welcome back to the Craft Castle. Oh my goodness. If I have not fallen in love with this machine already, look at this stinking print and cut. I am now sold. Like for sure sold. So my very first print and cut that I did is right here, and I've been saving all of the scrap pieces for this. Now I have not calibrated this machine. I had shown this print and cut on one of my social medias, and a lot of people were saying, oh my gosh, are you sure you're doing that on the Siser? And the way that you can tell is with the Siser registration marks, there is going to be this like additional triangle that's on there, and the registration marks look a little bit different, but the biggest tell sign is this right here, this little triangle. And I will show you towards the end of the video. We're going to do an XL 24-inch print and cut. We are also going to do a dark print and cut. I'm going to show you all the deals because I am so like, I cannot believe it. So I have not calibrated this machine at all. And if you know anything about Cricut and their print and cut, you do know that it is kind of a pain in the butt. But look at this cut. So this was like supposed to go like this, and this is supposed to go like this, and then the white that goes in here. So this is actually supposed to be like a layered HTV file, but I cut it out in cardstock. So do you see how like there is no bleed anywhere? If you go on this right here, there is not like one messed up thing. So I decided at that point I needed to test out like cutting little characters, because I know a lot of people use their Cricuts to cut out cute little characters for a lot of their projects. This is on just plain white cardstock, no gloss, no shine, and everything cut out amazing. Oh, here is Coco Melon. You can see like there's nothing wrong with it. And the most impressive one, I was telling my husband, the most impressive one is Captain Hook, because not only did he print and cut perfectly, but his like sword right here, do you see that? It's cut out perfectly. The inside portion right here. Look how amazing this print and cut looks. Okay, so that is with just regular plain cardstock. So then I decided, why don't we try glossy cardstock? So here is going to be some glossy ones. Here's Coco Melon in the Koala High Gloss cardstock. It's double-sided high gloss cardstock, but look at that. We'll compare these two. Okay, and then here is SpongeBob. And we got some bluey characters, and then we have Sandy Cheeks. Look at how great these cutouts are, and there's not any one mess up. And I'm telling you, I am absolutely in love with the print then cut feature. And I was already sold when we did the glossy. So then the other thing that I wanted to try was a print then cut on dark sheet, because if you have the Explorers 2, especially the Explorers 2, you can't do print then cuts on dark sheets. Now I do show you in a previous video how to do a hack, a workaround if you don't have the Siser, to how to do a workaround to do print then cuts. But this right here was a print then cut on the Siser. You can tell by the little triangle. And this was done on my dark craft cardstock. I cut it down to 8.5 by 11, so it'd fit into my standard printer. But like this is supposed to be like a little cute wedding invitation or for like a reception. But look at how stinking cute these are. They cut perfectly. There is nothing wrong with any of the cuts. You can see that there is no bleed anywhere else. Okay, so then I got super brave. I did the paper, I did the plain cardstock, I did the glossy cardstock, I did the dark cardstock, and I wanted to take it one step further. And Siser has this stuff called DTV, which is essentially printable vinyl, but it's like super thin. This is paper thin. So what you do is you print it out on just your regular inkjet printer, and then you throw it into your machine to do a print then cut. And this was the finished product. This was a print then cut file that I ironed onto a t-shirt, and look at that. There's not one imperfection anywhere. This was amazing. I will do a tutorial on this, doing just the DTV, the cutting out and the ironing. I will do a tutorial on this on a later time, but just to show you how accurate the print then cut is, and you can tell that there's no additional white. And when the DTV, when you print it out, you do print it out on this like white, really thin HTV. This stuff is super thin, y'all. Like I don't know. I am not someone that prefers shirts that have decals on it because I am just a weird texture person. But like it is so stinking thin. I'm like really impressed by this stuff. So again, later tutorial I will have for just this, like how to make a t-shirt with the DTV. Okay, but what I really wanted to show you today is inside of the Siser Romeo's program, I want to show you how to set up your little characters for a print then cut, how it looks on the machine, how to cut it out on the machine, and then at the very end, I'm gonna show you a 24-inch print then cut. We're gonna test it out. I haven't done it yet. We are gonna test it out together and see what it looks like. If you have watched my previous unboxing of the Silhouette Pro, the 24-inch Pro, you will know that I was never able to get that done, and it would never cut right. It was always off. So I am gonna put this to the test. 24-inch print then cut. I'm super stoked. Okay, so let's go to the computer and we're gonna work on the software and set up all our little cutouts. Okay, so this is what the design program of the Siser looks like. I have done very little actual design work in here. It's really just been importing and cutting at this point. Okay, so just to show you how easy it is to import something, let's go over to Safari and what is in right now. Okay, so Wednesday Addams is super popular right now. So I just searched up Wednesday Addams clip art PNG, and I searched for ones that were not ones that were for sale. So like this one right here, it's for sale. This is someone's artwork. And B, sometimes if you're looking at certain things, like they'll have watermarks on them. So I'm looking for one that doesn't have a watermark, but then also isn't for sale, because I definitely don't want to steal someone's artwork. I have located a couple that aren't for sale or have watermarks, and all I'm going to do is take a screenshot. So Command-Shift-4 on the keyboard. Here's my little aiming tool, and I'm just going to draw a box around the clip art that I want. I'm going to let them go down into my desktop. I'm going to choose this one and do the same thing, and just letting that go to the desktop. Okay, when we're back into Leonardo, everything is still the same as what I had it. I am going to go over here into File and then Import File. Okay, then I am going to find my screenshots. They're right here, and I'm just going to click on one and press Open. You're going to have to do this for each individual one. So for this, I want to do a print then cut. I don't want to keep the background, so I want that print and cut, and I'm going to press Next. And then you can see that the checkered board went away, which is great. Now we can open this up and make this like go to the right, and you see how it's like removing the background. You could do that if you wanted to, but you would start losing characteristics, right? So if we go all the way to the left, you see at the very bottom right here that we have some white coming back. I don't want that. So I just want to make sure that I only have the circle image. And I think I'm going to keep everything the way that it is. Not going to uncheck anything and press Next. Okay, so then the smoothness levels, we can adjust those if you wanted to. When you adjust them, I mean, it's going to be really faint to see if we zoom in. Do you see this like blue line that's right here? If we go all the way to the right, do you see how it's like now really smooth? If we go down to the left, see how you have a little divot in there? So if you want it all the way around, then you can just go to the right. Okay, so this include holes thing doesn't really apply for this particular clip art. I'm going to show you what it looks like with the Wednesday one, but for this one, just because it is a full circle and I want to make sure that nothing gets cut out on the inside of that, I'm going to uncheck that, and then I'm going to press Next. So this is what your finished cutout will look like. It's really, really faint, but there is this like blue line that's all the way around there. So what you could do is you can drag this over to the right, and you see that blue line is just going to get bigger. You can make it bigger. That would be creating your offset if you were like doing this on a Cricut. But I am just going to leave it at 0. I don't want to include the holes. I don't want to do an inset. And clip art, yes, I want to hide the background. Then I'm going to press Finish. Okay, so when I press finish, your clip art gets put on to your canvas area. I'm just going to drag the spider web off for just a second, and I'm going to select everything that's inside of here, and I'm going to drag this and put this up. That being said, now I'm going to drag back in my spider web because that's what I'm going to be working on now. I want to show you a whole new clip art. Okay, so I want to import that Wednesday one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the spider web. I'm going to file, import file, find my file, and press open. This is going to pop up. I want to do print and cut, press next. Okay, so when it uploaded, you get this like really weird look, right? So I want to take this mask tolerance and I'm going to bump it down. However, if we go all the way to the right, do you see how now I'm getting this like really weird speckle mark? You can erase that, but just to make your life easier, I'm really only focused on the outside line, making sure that this is nice and even. Okay, you can see that the inside of Wednesday, you can start seeing the checkerboard. That means that you've erased that. So what you want to do is go down here into drawing tools. And instead of doing a remove, I want to add this stuff back in, right? So I'm going to go into include brush. I'm going to go into the sketch, and all I'm going to do is just draw in the places that I want. So everything that's pink on the inside of Wednesday, I'm just going to click and drag my mouse down, and we're going to fill it all the way in. Okay, it looks like I'm done, but I'm just going to zoom in just to make sure I didn't miss any spots. Just to double check to make sure everything looks the way you're going to, I'm just going to unclick that drawing tools, and you see how now everything inside Wednesday looks good, and then everything on the outside is gone, correct? Looking good. So let's go over into next. Okay, when we zoom in on this side, that blue line, remember, that is going to be where we're cutting around. Okay, and remember what I said about including the holes in that spider web? We didn't really need that because there was not going to be any holes in our spider web because it was a circle. But do you see how right here inside Wednesday's arm, there is this blue line? That means that it's going to cut out that blue line. If you did not want that and you wanted to keep it there, just unclick that, and do you see how now it's gone? That means that it's not going to cut out right there. So everything else is going to cut out. There's a blue line around the entire cutout, but I personally want to include the holes. So I'm going to include the holes. And then doing the same thing, you can smooth out the edges, make them more jagged. Okay, and then when you have it the way you want to, right now you're only looking at the blue lines, then press next. Okay, this is what your semi-finished design will look like. If you wanted to build that contour, you totally could, just by making this bigger or smaller. And then when you have it the way you want, just press finish. Okay, so now we have both of these. Let me zoom in. Okay, let's go over into our artboard. I'm going to be using a 12 by 12 mat because I am going to be using cardstock for most of this. So I'm just going to use the cardstock. You can do different mat sizes, but let's just do the 12 by 12 standard. And then my paper size, you want to set the paper size. My paper size is going to be letter for this. Okay, and I had already had my page marks set up for something that was up here. So what I'm going to do is uncheck this, and then it's going to go down here, right? So let me check them again. And do you see how these lines are those are going to be your registration marks, the ones that I was showing you earlier. Okay, let me zoom back in. So you get a little bit more of a printing area than you did on your Cricuts, which I really liked. But the other cool thing too is, like, I'm going to drag this over. What size is this? This is 5 by 5. That's a pretty decent size. And let me take this, and I am just going to rotate her just a little bit just to save space. And let's just make her smaller. You can see that my spider web is like grayed out now. It's because it's over the red line. So what you want to do is just make sure that it's inside the printing area. Okay, do you see how these registration marks, they don't move with the objects? So you know with the Cricut how it, like when you go to the print setting and it kind of already adjusts the registration marks to fit exactly what it is that you're print and cutting. It's not like that over in Siser. You have to manually move them. So clicking the registration marks, I'm just going to make it smaller, and I'm going to hug my material. So when you print it, it's only going to print like 3/4 of the sheet versus like the entire sheet before. Okay, when we have that done, all we want to do is go to Send to Design. We're going to add the artwork that fits on the page. We're going to use its current settings of where it's located at on our screen and press Send. Okay, so this is what your screen is going to look like. The very first thing you're going to see is this right here, and then you're going to have like a second mat. So this kind of resembles the Cricut a lot, right? Because you have like two different mats. So going on to the print artwork, what you want to do is you're going to select your printer of your choice. So I'm going to be using this printer, and then we're going to make sure and set the paper size. The cool thing about this is you see how it tells you what size paper you're going to need. So if your print is going to be like 9 inches wide, you'll know that you're not set on the correct paper, which I really, really liked. Okay, we are going to be using the Siser cutting mat, and I do not want to mirror this. And then we're going to send it to printer. This box is going to pop up. So this is the printer that I'm going to use. And I am just going to go down to media. I'm going to select my media, making sure that the paper handling I set to 8.5 by 11, and then I'm going to press print. Okay, so your printed sheets are going to look something like this, and you can tell that it is a Siser because of that little triangle. This is what it is on just plain cardstock. Okay, when you're working with Siser, generally if you're doing a Cricut, you would put everything in the top left, right? Like these registration marks would generally go like this. With a Siser, it's going to be in the bottom corner, the bottom left. So I'm just going to put this on the bottom left. Okay, I am going to start my machine. Okay, and then with the Siser, there is this lever that's down here in the back of your machine. I just want to push that down to open up my levers, and you can move these little housings around. I show you all of this in the unboxing of this machine. You are going to want to line up your mat to this portion right here, this like arrow. It's kind of lifted, so you just want to line this up. When you have it lined up, go back over to that lever and you're going to pull it all the way up. Okay, and also the big difference with the Siser is that we get to manually move our print head, which is the Cricut, it's always stuck in the top left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my touch screen, and I'm going to put my cutting blade kind of over the top of this little triangle that is on that printed piece of paper. Okay, and then we're going to check our cut settings. So we're going to go to cut settings, and I don't want it to be on HTV. So then I'm going to go over into other, and I've actually saved my own settings for plain cardstock. So I'm just going to hit that plain cardstock and press load. Okay, this is my cut settings that I have already loaded for my plain cardstock. So then going back over into the software, remember how we were checked on that print artwork? I am now going to click on the cut contours. So this is going to pop up. I don't want to do an auto weed box, so I'm going to uncheck that. Okay, when I have that done, all I'm going to do is press send to cutter and press confirm. Now the machine is going to start reading the registration marks. Okay, and you can see there's this like little red, it's probably hard, but there's this little red aimbot. It is looking for the corners of those registration marks. Okay, so now it's read it. We'll go over here and we'll just watch it cut. Okay, when it's done, you can either eject your material by pushing the lever down, or I like to just press this down button and it will just spit your material out. Okay, so when that's done, you can just peel off your cutouts. And here is my Wednesday cutout. Look at how amazing it is. And you can see that on here, there is like no extra ink anywhere, and I have actually never calibrated this machine, and this looks amazing, right? Like, oh my goodness, there's no extra bleed or anything. Okay, so I am actually going to show you a glitter sublimation. I don't even know if this will work, but in previous tutorials I have done a like DIY sublimation glitter cardstock on my own glitter cardstock. So let's test it out and see if it'll work. So I am just going to make sure and mirror this, and then I'm going to do send to printer. Instead of printing to my main printer, I'm going to go and choose my sublimation printer, and I'm going to make sure and choose the correct paper. I don't want to flip horizontally because I've already done that in the design, and then I'm just going to press print. Okay, while I wait for my heat press to get done heating up and my sublimation print to get done printing, here is just a really high gloss sheet of koala paper with that same Wednesday print, putting it on the bottom left of my cutting mat. I'm going to load this in, and then on the software, remember, we are going to go and click on the cutting contours, and then we are going to do send to cutter. Now it is going to read the registration marks. Okay, when it's done cutting, we just want to eject it. And let's see how our cut turned out. Perfection. Look at that. 0 issues with the print and cut around our design. And my cuts are absolutely perfect. There is no snagging, even on her hair. Do you see how like her hair is really thin? We have 0 issues. Look at how amazing that cut. Okay, so my sublimation print is all done. It looks like my sublimation printer itself did not print the colors correctly, but you know what? It is what it is. My sublimation printer is kind of a nightmare. So doing the same thing we've done before, we're going to put it on the bottom left of our mat. So now I'm going to load this into the machine. I don't know if it's going to read the registration marks on Glitter Cardstock. I have not even tried this, so I am curious. Okay. It's done. Now remember, my printer must be having a day, so the colors are off, but outside of that, look at, I mean, that is a perfect cut. So you can print and cut on Glitter Cardstock with the Siser with 0 issues. Okay, awesome. Okay, so look at this baby printout that I have. Holy cow, it's really small. So I'm just gonna line this up onto the bottom of my sheet. Load this in like I have done previously. Line up my print head, changing my cut settings over, and then I'm just gonna press send to cutter. And with that, 0 hacks, 0 issues, it wants to cut it, have no problems. And let's pull this out. Look at how small this little invitation is, has 0 issues cutting. Look at that. Okay, so the very next thing that we are going to do, which is the final thing, is going to be a 24-inch by 24-inch character cutout. Let me move my machine over to my big table so I can have more room to work with this big, huge mat. Okay, so I already have my XL print then cut already laid out and ready to print, but let me show you how I did this just so you would know for future references. I'm going to open up a new window or a new file in Leonardo. I'm going to Command I, which is import, and then I am just going to select any character. This is going to pop up. It's the same thing that I showed you before. We are just going to only focus on the outside portion, and then just press next. I want to exclude the holes. I only want to do the outside, and I want to smooth this out. Okay, looks pretty smooth. Then I'm going to press next, and then I am going to press finish. Okay, so the very next thing is, this is now our print and cut, and it's going to automatically put these little lines on there. You know, I know that I'm a beginning user, but I already don't like them. I don't know. I like doing it like this, where the page marks. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here where it says paper size. I have a 24-inch printer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my printer, and there's my 24-inch, and I'm going to change my paper size over to a 24-inch paper size. So 24 by 25 is what I'm going to use, and I'm going to press OK. So now my machine thinks it's going to that I'm going to be using a 25-inch printer. Okay, then the same thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to uncheck the page marks and check it back. And so now the print marks are going to be on all 4 corners. We're going to change that here in a second, but I feel like it gives me more room when I do it like that versus it only being around the character. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this bigger. I'm going to make it as large as I can for my print and cut possibilities. The cool thing is if you make it too big, it goes grayed out. So then you would just make it smaller. So for me, the paper for your 24-inch paper, printer is like not cheap. So what I went ahead and did was just filled up a 24-inch print with like all the things to show you how accurate it is. But my Bluey character that I'm going to be printing is just a little over 23 inches, which is a gigantic Bluey. Okay, so going back over into what I've already created, that is essentially it. So the setup process, that is how easy the setup process is. So then going over into what I've already created for you, this is going to be one gigantic print, and the Bluey is going to be the 23 inches, like I said. It is set up the way that it's supposed to. We got a 24-inch by 25-inch print. Let's go over to cutting mat. Okay, so I was on a roll, but now I want to go to a cutting mat, and then I'm going to change the Siser mat over to a 24-inch by 24-inch. You see that? Looking fabulous. Okay, so then I am just going to press send design, and I want to keep everything on the page just the way it is and just press send. This is going to pop up. Same thing. I want to make sure that my print size is 24 by 24. I'm going to need this size right here, which is perfect. I think that's perfect for what I need. And then I'm going to be using a mat. I don't want a mirror. So then what I want to do is send to printer. I'm going to make sure that my 24-inch printer is selected. For my printer, it really likes to auto-select the paper. You do it on the printer itself. And then I'm going to come down here to paper handling, and I'm just going to make sure, and my destination size is 24 by 25, so I'm just going to make sure that it stays that way. And then I am going to press print. Okay, then you can see my 24-inch printer is right there, and it is now turned on, and it's going to be doing its own prints. And then I'll bring it over here, and we'll get started with the large print then cut. Okay, that is going and printing, and now all I'm going to do is go to my cut settings. So I am just going to click on the cardstock, and I'm going to do glitter cardstock and press load. Okay, so here is my really large print then cut. Okay, I'm just going to lay it on my mat just like you would any other print then cut. Holy geez. I do have to say that I am nervous about it cutting, not because of the restrictions of the Siser, but because my print is larger than the mat. So I don't know if that is going to change the way that it cuts and reads. So we shall see. Fingers crossed. Ooh, you know what? The head won't go that far. Okay, so I'm thinking maybe my print then cut is like way too big. Now, I did say that I didn't think it was going to work because of my page size was too big. That's definitely it. So going back over, I am just going to open up a new window, copy and paste, and make this smaller, because that's clearly what the issue here is, that I just have too long of a print. Okay, so now I have just a slightly smaller print. Hopefully this will work now. Just gonna put this back on the mat. We are hopefully on the up and up here. Now I have the top registration marks right here on the cutting mat. I have the registration marks on the bottom hanging off, but I feel like the mat doesn't want, like, I think this will be okay. I truly think that we are like going to get this done before I have to reprint anything. Send to cutter, press yes, fingers crossed, let's do this. Okay. We got a cut, we got a cut, we got a cut, we got it, we got it. Look at that, it's cutting. We now have a cut. Now, whether or not it cuts really good, I don't know, but it seemed like it read all the registration marks. I think we're good to go. All right, so we are done. Let's eject this mat. Okay, we'll see how the first cuts will look together. Okay. There is not one misperfection cut on this. Look at that. Perfect. There's not, it's not miscut or anything. There's like no extra white. The detail in Wednesday's hair, look at that. I mean, that's really cool. And outside that fact that I just ripped whatever this dog's name is, I think his name is Bingo, but like, perfect cut. Yeah, perfect. Absolutely perfect. There is not one miscut on this. Okay, let's do our big old Bluey. And look at that. Absolutely perfect print then cut. XL print then cut. I mean, I am impressed. Are you impressed? Are you impressed? I'm impressed. So we got an XL print then cut, a whole bunch of larger ones that you would not be able to get with like a traditional craft cutter. We have a dark, a dark print then cut right here. We have that messed up sublimation print. That's because my printer is clogged and messed up, but we can still print then cut on glitter cardstock. Then we have the plain cardstock, and then we have the ultra gloss cardstock, which is actually what the large stuff was the extra gloss stuff. I am impressed, thoroughly impressed. Not one messed up cut, and I actually have never calibrated the machine. All right, y'all, I sure hope I inspired you to make, and I will see you later.